He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. In his hands. He got the entire world in his hands. In his hands. He's got you and me and my family.
But her name was Gomer. And God used Hosea's life to illustrate his relationship with his people. And I thought about in our lives what he uses. You know, we just came out of Esther and how he used Esther's life. That was her day-to-day living. Like her people were about to get about to have a genocide done against them, committed against them, and that was her real life. Like, I'm literally living through. I might not make it, through this next year. And Hosea, we see the same thing. Like, his actual life, God tells him to go and marry this prostitute. And when he gets this word, he's a real person. You want me to marry her? You want me to marry him? And I know what he be doing. I know what she be doing. And God says, yes, that's the one I want you to marry. Like, half of us be like, no. Your heart is in it. Your life is in it. Your everything is in this relationship. And God says, I need to use that so I can show you visually how much you mean to me. And so throughout Hosea, we see God's faithfulness so strongly, and he illustrates that through Hosea. And so I want to read, let's read and start chapter 1. And let's read 2 through 5. This is in Hosea chapter 1, verse 2 through 5. So Hosea is a prophet, and so he hears from the Lord. He's praying, he's fasting, he's seeking God's face in all that he does. And what the message that he gets is go and marry a prostitute. I'm like, half of us would have been rebuking, like, that's the devil. That is not Jesus. That is not the Lord. Like, what? I've been seeking in your face, on my face, praying, and you telling me to marry this one? And I thought about how obedient Hosea had to be and how disciplined that he had to be for that, because anybody that's not built for that would run the opposite direction. I mean, we tell people that if he's once a cheater, always a cheater. If she's gonna be with everybody, she's always gonna be with everybody. I mean, there's no going back. And with Hosea, he obediently goes and marries Gomer, and I thought about if he would have rejected that. And one thing, me and my husband were talking about this weeks ago, but there's almost a sadness sometimes that comes with being obedient. And I think it's a misplaced sadness, because when God has a plan set out for us and he tells us who your spouse is going to be, what your job is going to be, whatever the case is, and it's different from what you wanted your spouse to be. You wanted your spouse to have some money in the bank. You wanted them to be fine and got a nice car and all these things, good credit. And he told you to go and marry the layman that, don't got too much in his bank account, and maybe he drink a little bit, he smokes cigarettes. And he tells you to go marry him, and not only marry him, but be faithful to him. And not only that, women, to submit to him. Y'all, I was like, we think for ourselves that we're supposed to have this top-notch 10. And that's, I mean, nothing wrong with that. You want nice things. You want the best for yourself. But what if God has something different from you? And it's not that it's lower, but we think that if it's not what we have in mind, that it's beneath what we should have. It's lower than what we should be. And so what is better, though, the thing that we want or what God has for us? And it's hard. It's a hard comparison, because if God has this for you, you know it's going to be the best thing for you. You know he's thought about everything more than we could think about. And then on the other hand, you have yours, which is all your desires, all the things that you like and what you think you like, what you think you need. And when you put them together, y'all, that comparison hurts. It hurts sometimes. Like, that's not what I thought. Do I want the choice, or do I want the promise? Pastor?
Ooh. Bless Jesus.
Who are you looking for?
I'm reminiscing on my life, actually, because I'm married to the one who God had for me, but I married somebody else who I thought was best suited for me. He thought like me. We were in the city and all of that. And it ended up being a disaster. Jesus. And I even felt when I was marrying this first guy that I should have run, that I shouldn't marry him. But I couldn't, too many people watching me. I was in my wedding dress.
Yeah.
But
runaway bride. You would have been a runaway bride, Lord.
But the one who God had for me, Monica, and it's been difficult at first because, like you said, you make more money and then you come from a different place. But that's the one who God had for you. And God said, you're looking at the outer appearance, but I'm looking at his heart.
Yes.
His heart is towards you.
Yes.
The one who I married before, outer appearance was perfect for me, but his heart was dark. So, yeah, God knows best for us. And if we listen to God, we'll have a better outcome.
Yeah.
But he'll give us what we desire, and then we have to come back and get it right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Glory to God.
Same thing. Even with all of us, when we're in relationships, y'all, we see the things on the outside. We think we know what we want. We make a list, check it twice, and then God says, throw it away. That's not for you. And y'all, that's especially, I think, as women, and I'm not excluding y'all men that are online, but we kind of grow up fantasizing a little bit, about how our life's going to be, and, our wedding and our dress and our house, how our kid's going to be. Like, that's just kind of a girly thing that we, how my career is going to be. Like, we can map out our whole life and think that that's the path we're going to take. And when God presents to you a life that is that's less glamorous, it's not as fleshly, it's less glamorous than what you thought it was going to be, we have a difficult time accepting that. But it's the best thing for you. It's the number one thing. Y'all, ours would be number 2010 on the list. He got number one for us, y'all. We'll still go for that 2010. We'll still go for our choice. And y'all, we don't know best for ourselves. We really don't. God tells Hosea, marry her. And Hosea's obedient. He's not like us. Yeah. Is this my kid? Exactly. But you know what that demonstrates, Minister Grace, is that God is faithful even though. Yes. And that was what I realized. And even though them kids probably ain't mine, even though you went and worshiped other gods, even though you didn't listen to me, he's faithful. And that's why he chose Gomer. For all of that, for her life. She went and had her first son, and he said, so that some of her children will be conceived in prostitution. They ain't had no Dana. Like Minister Grace said, they ain't had no Dana. Wasn't no way for it unless he just came out like all the shades darker. Like, I don't know how they could tell if it was their kid or not. So God said, accept that child as yours. And he gave him a son first. So that may or may not be his heir, but it is now. God shows just how much he loves Israel through Hosea and Gomer's relationship. Because imagine, and y'all have to realize that this is why he gave that visual. Imagine being married to your husband and he has another baby while you're married. And you got to take that baby as yours. Pastor said it happened to her. Mr. Grace said, I can't do it. I can't handle this. Pastor said twice. And you got to take that baby and nurse it and make sure it's safe. And what? How faithful do you have to be for that to not let that bother you? It can't bother you because that's what God does with us. Y'all, we have all kind of other gods, all kind of other people. And he still says, even though you got a baby with somebody else, I'm going to take care of the baby like it's mine. And it was while you were with me. You had already committed to me. You already said that I was your God. You already said you were going to follow me. You already said you were going to obey me. You told me you loved me. I mean, come on. All of this, and you stepped out on me. But it's the grace that throw up the flag. Throw in the flag. She already threw in her towel. Y'all, that's what we do with God. We do, and that's why he said, I need y'all to see this, how this hurts me. But yet and still, I love you just like it never happened. And I gave you Jesus to make sure it's all covered, to make sure every base is covered. We ain't got to worry about your past. We ain't got to worry about that baby that you had. We ain't got to worry about the other guys and other dudes that you had. None of that. I covered it. So she has her first baby. And what God is trying to do, what he does through Hosea, though, is he's still a prophet. He got a message for Israel. He said, your prostitution, you going to other gods and you worshiping in other temples and praying to other gods, is going to come back on you. It's going to be doom and destruction. I'm going to let your enemies overtake you. And what was interesting, I'm not going to get ahead. Let's read 6 through 8.
And she conceived again and bare a daughter. And God said unto him, call her name Leruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen. Now when she had weaned Leruhamah, she conceived and bare a son.
So she's got 3 babies now. 2 sons, 1 daughter. But these babies are symbolic because, y'all, you plant seeds, and we all know how it works to have a baby. But the seeds that Israel is planting are going to be birthed. The things that they're doing in their relationship with Christ, with God, there's going to be fruit from it. There's going to be a manifestation. Something's going to happen because of it, y'all. And I think that we have to evaluate our relationship with God and what we're putting in our relationship with Christ to see what is going to come out. Because the word and the law that God has set is that what you reap, you sow. So what you throw out, you're going to get back. And God blesses, and he will fill and overflow, and he will expand the things that we put in. So what are we putting in? Because Israel is putting in adultery. They're putting in fornication. They're putting in lies. They're putting in all of these things, y'all. And sometimes we don't expect to reap what we put in. We kind of think it's going to go away. It may, and possibly it's because we don't always experience them in our lifetime. But our God says that he blesses and curses to the 3rd and 4th generation. So what we're doing right now is going to affect our seeds, our children, our great-grand, all the greats. is going to affect them, the relationship now that you have with your God. And he's trying to tell Israel, like, and you might not see it right now, but you planting seeds. And these things are going to spring up. And so he has the daughter who's birthed. She's symbolic of what's going to happen. And the daughter is her name was Lo-Ruhamah. It means not loved. He said, you're going to be abandoned. You're going to, I've been faithful to you, and I want you to be with me, but you're producing things in your life that is going to cause you to feel like you're not loved, that I'm not with you. Why? Because you are in so much sin. Y'all, every time we sin, we take a step away from him. So we get further and further away. You're not going to feel my love. You're too far, you're too deep into your sin. So he has the baby's birth, and again, like I said, they might be Hosea's. They could be, maybe one or two of them, hopefully. But it might be. She better be counting them days of them stones or something. I don't know how they did it back then. They probably had like a stone calendar, paint one red or something. I don't know. But he tells them that your enemies they're going to overcome you. Because of your sin, there has to be consequences. There is something that's going to come up because of what you've done. But I'm going to free you. In verse 10, he reinstates this promise that he gave to, y'all remember who he gave it to? Abraham. He says, yet the time will come when Israel's people will be like sands of the seashore, too many to count. And I'm sorry, that was Jacob, not Abraham. That was Jacob's promise. Then at the place where they were told, you are not my people, it will be said, you are children of the living God. Then the people of Judah and Israel will unite together. They will choose one leader for themselves, and they will return from exile together. What a day that will be, the day of Jezreel, when God will again plant his people in his land. So he's telling them, because y'all keep messing up, you're gonna get kicked out. You're getting evicted of the promised land. Because they're there, y'all. We take a step back in history. Y'all know the books are not in order. And so we got to rewind a little bit. We are at a time under Jehu's reign. And there's two separate kingdoms, remember? Israel's divided. There's Judah, and then there's the rest of them. So the northern kingdoms and the southern kingdom. And so they're divided, but he says he's going to bring them back as one. And one of the things that I learned as I was studying is that Israel was in a very prosperous state right now. And I thought that was significant because, y'all, when things are all going well and everything is just, cherries and butterflies and cupcakes and stuff, we kind of take a step back from God. We kind of get a little bit too lax and, think it doesn't take all that and think that we've arrived or we've made it. When Israel was at this peak and God said no more, they were flourishing. When we learn to praise and seek God's face in any situation, y'all, we can keep ourselves on that flourishing, I'm going to say, cycle. But what happens is as soon as we get on the flourishing cycle, we think we just kind of take a chill pill. We feel like we ain't got to do all that we used to do. We got what we wanted. Y'all, and I think when we go about it that way, it almost is like we're using God. We use him, and we pray, and we seek him, and we do all these things. We cry out to him when we need something, and then once that need is gone, well, we don't need to do all that. And God says, I want you to be that close to me always, all the time, seeking me in everything. And when you do that, I can continually bless you, continue to have my hand on you, continue to have you walk the path that I have, because you're right here. You're right next to me. How can you get off that path when you're right next to me? And I can bless you. I can order your steps. They were so cocky. The Israels, they had all the different idols. Because remember, they still got these surrounding nations around them. And they're not Christian. They are polytheistic. They got all kind of gods, several gods. And they got a god for the sun. They got a god for the fertility. They got a god for farm crops. Like they are so, all this is surrounding them. And Israel sneaks in there and kind of falls into that idolatry with them. And it's kind of like we have going on now where we mix different religions and we take a little bit from this religion. We take a little bit from holistic care. We take a little bit of Christianity and we try to put it in a pot, put it together, and we end up falling into what the world does. We're no longer set apart. So Israel is looking like everybody else. And that's why Hosea was called, because he said, I need you to tell them that I see what they're doing, and it's affecting not just them, but it's going to affect their seeds. Because, spoiler alert, it doesn't happen immediately, but I think it was 2 centuries later, the Syria takes over them, and they are cast into bondage. They end up being destroyed. Pastor Weaver?
No, I'm just thinking about you saying, taking on, I guess, the light of who is around you. And I'm thinking about churches. So I think as church, we get too modern. Yeah. And we try to bring the world into the house of God. And as a pastor, it's difficult because you want the people to enjoy service, but the Bible says, be holy because I'm holy. Yeah. And so it's like the separation. It's like, okay, we're in the house of God. So I understand that we're in 2024, but still it's the house of God.
Yeah.
So, and to differentiate that, to keep it holy, but to keep it modern. Is that possible?
Yeah. That's the age-old question, I think, because we see that there has to be some modernization, but that there still has to be a remnant that will hold on, that will hold on to those things of old that have caused us to be holy and separated and caused us to be sanctified, that got us to where we are now. But I think in our era, and maybe they dealt with it in other eras, but we are dealing with a generation that wants to completely do away with the old. And that's a dangerous place. I think that when we read in Daniel, we read in 2 Kings where they had lost the Bible completely. They lost the word. They didn't know. They were just kind of going off of what they heard and what their parents used to do, but they didn't have the real law. And y'all remember that, I think that was it Jehoshaphat? Who was that? One of the J's, kings, because a lot of J's, kings. Jojo, I think his name was Jojo. Remember they were uncovering all the rubble of the temple, and they found the word, and they were like, and he said, oh my God, we've been doing this wrong. He actually read it and went through. I'm like, we've been doing this all wrong. And he set in order what needed to be done. So he had to go back and redo what they messed up because they completely went away with what they thought was old. And it's a dangerous place to be because at that time they thought that they were doing the will of God and doing what God wanted them to do, and they were so far from it. And it's the Saul to Paul experience. When you realize, like, I have been doing this, oh my God, the devastation that comes over you. When you realize, like, I really thought that I had this in the bag, and that was completely opposite and wrong. And now I got to relearn, I got to reteach, I've got to re-sanctify, that's work, and that takes generations. And it wasn't centuries, it was decades. It was 2 decades later, so 20 years later from when Hosea is having to live his life out loud is when Israel actually feels the consequence. So some of them did not receive the punishment. And they're living life thinking things are all right, but their kids and their kids' are living through hell. They get enslaved because of what their parents did. The seeds that we plant, the relationship, what we're putting into our relationship with God now matters, and maybe it don't even matter for us. We might be praying for our great-grand who's, our grandkid or whoever it is that's going to receive salvation because of what we're doing now. So Hosea got this wife. and she, what you call a girl Rolling Stone? What do you call them? You call them a hoe?
Street walker.
What you call them?
Street walker.
A street walker. Cornelia, what you call a girl Rolling Stone? A woman Rolling Stone? A thought, yeah. We would call them a thought now. So Gomer was out here thoughting around. Pastor Q, what'd you say it was again? Streetwalker. Because she was a prostitute. The Bible says she went to wherever there was, I'm going to say, flourishing. What'd you say? I said the opposite sex. The opposite sex. But she was, but they said, I ain't saying she's no gold digger. But she was looking for them coins. Because if you wasn't paying, then she wasn't worried about you. Come on, Pastor. Say it again, Mr. Grace. What'd you say? All of us was prostitutes. We've been saved, set free, and delivered, okay? Now, I guess I think they still paying for it, y'all. We can't judge Gomar. Baby, I think y'all still paying for it. No? It's different forms. He put a ring on it, so. What you said, Pastor?
By the grace of God.
By the grace of God. No, we can't. We can't, y'all, because before we got saved, before we had somebody come and tell us, you are all the way out the way. We thought that we just getting it how we live. We're doing what it takes to survive. We taking care of ourselves. It's all about, all the things that society and the world tells you to make you okay in your sin. So Gomer is very unfaithful. And in chapter 2, God has something to say about Gomer. But this is really, like I said, remember, an illustration of Israel's relationship with God and how unfaithful they are to him. Let's read chapter 2 and go to, let's read 1 through 5. Yep.
Say ye unto your brethren, Ami, and to your sisters, Rahama, plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my wife, neither am I her husband. Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts, lest I stripped her naked, and set her as in the day that she was born, and make her as a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. And I will not have mercy upon her children, for they be the children of whoredoms. For their mother has played the harlot, she that conceived them have done shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers that give me my bread and my water, my wool and my flax, mine oil and my drink. Therefore, behold, I will hedge up thy way with thorns and make a wall that she shall not find her paths.
Keep going, Pastor.
And she shall follow after her lovers, but she shall not overtake them. And she shall seek them, but shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then was it better with me than now. For she did not know that I gave her corn and wine and oil, and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal.
Stop right there. God is telling her, God is giving this message to Hosea to give to Israel. But y'all, he's explaining Gomer, but telling Israel what you've been doing. This is what you've been doing, y'all, and we think nothing of it. He said, you have been going after other gods, going after what the world wants and everything else that they have to offer, thinking that you are getting it for yourself. Like I just said, we think that even us on our jobs, y'all, we think that because we make the money, and I'm going to go into tithes, we think because we're going to work every day, because we're doing the labor of it, that money is ours. And the Bible says that God says, I own everything. I own all the cattle on the hill. Everything belongs to the Lord. Y'all, but we think because we do a little bit of work in there that it's ours to keep and ours to manage and ours to do. Y'all, as soon as we start managing, as soon as we start doing what we want to do with our money, just like that hole in the pocket that Cornelia was talking about, can't keep nothing. When we don't give God his, we don't follow his command and do and give how he tells us to give generously and cheerfully, we be looking at a big old goose egg in the bank and trying to wonder where our money went. And God says, I can tell your money where to go, but you think that it's yours. You don't want to give it to me so I can put it where it needs to be. Who better hand for our money to be in than God? Who better? Y'all, he can save and multiply and give us the APR and everything else better, the lowest than we could ever think of for ourselves. But we don't trust him enough to allow him to lead us. And I say that because it's the same thing that Gomer's doing. She's going out and thinking that she's getting these things for herself. She thought she was selling her body so that she can obtain the Gucci purse, and she can obtain, the newest sneakers, the J's, and the real human hair, not the synthetic. She's thinking she's going out and getting these things for herself, and God's telling the whole time, I'm the one pulling the strings behind it. I'm the only reason why you have the food on your table now, but you think you're getting it from the world and everyone else, because if I shut it off, can't nobody give it to you. He tells Homer to tell Israel, I'm going to abandon you. If you don't turn away from yourself, I'm going to treat you like you're, let me not say abandon, because God will never abandon us, but I'm going to let you sit in there. You want to be by yourself? You want to act like you got it and you can do it by yourself? I'm going to let you do it. I'm going to let you feel the pain of that. Because, y'all, we think that we know what it feels like to, not have or to be in lack. But, y'all, if God really shuts off the water supply or really, gives us a famine, we ain't seen nothing like it. You think you hungry now. You think you thirsty now. I like to watch this show called I Survived. And anybody heard of that? It's called I Survived. And you heard of that, Mr. Grace? And it's just bizarre situations. People will be in like skiing and have an avalanche, come on them and they survive. Or they'll be stranded get shipwrecked. Yeah, you seen it? And one of them was two people that were stranded. They had the boat caught on fire or something crazy. And they ended up being stuck on this island. And they didn't have no survival skills. They didn't know what it was. And he talked about the level of dehydration that he felt. And he was like, I thought that I was thirsty before when I would like work out or do something or have gone all day. He's like, there's on the brink of literally dying from dehydration, that there was nothing like, I couldn't explain it. He couldn't even give us the words to explain that. Y'all, it's the same thing, y'all. If God ever really cuts off our supplies, it's nothing like we've ever experienced. And he's telling Israel, like, you're pushing my hand. I love you and I married you. He said, and it's so interesting that God uses the illustration of a marriage to show just how committed and just how loving and just how faithful that he is to his people. It's no coincidence that God uses marriage. God values marriage much more than we can even think of. We haven't even tapped in to really what that unification means. We're still trying to figure out how two become one. We be at odds all the time, right? Trying to figure out how we can blend this thing and make this thing work. We're still on that level. And God says, I'm so intertwined. I'm so faithful to you. Y'all, Homer has to get redeemed. Because as you see, he prophesies and tells her she's going to run after her lovers, y'all, but she will never be able to catch them. And that's how we are with fleshly things, worldly things. Sometimes we can get so caught up in wanting the new house, the new car, the new shoes, the new clothes, just trying to keep up with the Joneses, really, the new phone. Whatever the new is, we get so caught up in chasing these things. Y'all, once we get it, it ain't new no more. As soon as you get it, caught up in that, and we never obtain the satisfaction that we want. We never get it. And in obtaining it, we leave behind God. We tell him we'll be right back. I got to go get this real quick, and I'll be right back. Y'all, we get so far off that we lose our way back, and that's what he prophesies and tells her. She's going to search for them and find them because she's gone so far from me. And then I love in 8 because y'all know y'all done probably experienced it, but y'all watched like Cheaters back in like the 2000s. I think it was the 90s. It might have came out. Cheaters, and what's the other one where they would follow them, and and the girls be like, or be the girls mostly, and the dude be driving her car and driving with the girl and using her phone and using all her stuff to be with the other girl. Like, what? The things that they come out their mouth is not holy. But y'all know it's firsthand. Some of us have experienced that firsthand, where we've had lovers who've used the things and the gifts that we've gotten them for somebody else, for another woman or another man. Y'all, and that's exactly what he says that Israel's doing. He said, I gave you the grain. I gave you the oil. I've given you everything that you have, and you are using those things to give them to other gods, to sacrifice and pray and worship. You're using the oil that I gave you. You're using the car that I got you to drive her around. The hurt, the betrayal, the craziness that comes with that. Come on. God's trying to illustrate to us just how reckless he is for us. Like, in spite of all of that, even though you did all of that, I still want you back. I'm still calling you to me. And what a glorious and gracious God that we have that still wants us after that. Who wants that? In our relationships now, for that to happen in our spouse or significant other to go out and be with somebody else and us to be like, I still just want you back the way I was. Y'all, we have that desire, and in relationship, we see that happen. People take back people who have cheated and have mistreated them all the time. Why? It's the faithfulness. And God tries to explain that to us. That's how he is to us. Because we do it to him all the time. All the time. Yet he still fights for us. And he'll still pay the price for us. He'll still pay the ransom for us. Y'all, that love is a reckless love. That's the unconditional love. We think that we be head over heels in love with somebody, y'all, but as soon as they got a breaking point. What she said? She on to the next one. That's it. her Mr. Grace breaking point is like right here. But God, imagine our Lord getting to a breaking point with us. My God, I'm so grateful that we have Jesus. We done been past that, pushed that breaking point, stepped on it. Didn't care nothing about it, that there was a line, crossed it twice. All of these things that we've done in our path, even with our walk with God now. Yet he still pays the ransom for us. He's telling this to Hosea, and he wants them to give this message to Israel. Like I said, remember, he's a prophet, so he's living this thing out loud, and he's really feeling it. Like, he's feeling it. And I know that some of us that are in the house, we can sometimes feel the pain that others are going through. God will sometimes allow